10 cards rated, day 274, initiating. Boot process, first card, Seasoned Hellblade. This is from Core Set 2021, and it was a little bit of a beast in Standard. If you remember, this is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 3/1 human warrior. Discard a card, tap it, and it gains indestructible. So, discard, regenerate. Basically, this card did some work back in the day. This wasn't the first card that did something like this. And Adanto Vanguard wasn't the first card that did something like this either, but Adanto was the first one that took over Standard. Seasoned Hellblade did not take over, but it definitely did a lot. Anytime you see a creature like this, you got to pay a little bit of attention, because it basically means that you can stick a bunch of auras to it and get in, so without really having to worry about too much, unless there is a lot of exile removal or minus toughness base removal in the format. When things line up correctly and people are mostly playing, go for the throats, destroy target creature removal, or damage base removal in red decks, then a card like Seasoned Hellblade can be really, really good. So kind of almost want to give this guy an honorary 5, but I don't think he's really that level. He just had his moment in the spotlight, much like his art. And now he's to the left. He's off to the left now of this art. He's not really part of the scene anymore. I'm going to give him a 4 though. I'm going to give this guy a 4. I'm not looking to play him in casual commander for the most part, so that does heavily affect his score here, but this guy, this handsome young man right here, this dashing beard was definitely a real dude for a while in Standard. Obosh the Prey Piercer with this sick Dennis Medri art. Denise Medri? It's a really, really good looking card, but this is what it's supposed to look like. Right, this is what it looks like as a Magic card. I'm not knocking that art. That looked really cool. I was serious. You can get this for 27 cents. That art, by the way, you can get that art right there for 27 cents. And boy, do I think that's worth it. This is originally printed in Ikoria Lair of Behemoths, and it has Companion, but I think it's fine even without the Companion. I think it really is. This is 5 mana, 3 and 2 black-red hybrids for a legendary Hellion Horror. It's a 3/5 with Companion. So if you want to play this as your Companion, your starting deck has to contain only cards with odd mana values and land cards. Okay. If a source you control with an odd mana value would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So I got to speak on Companion for a second, because I don't really think I've had a chance to in this entire series. 274 videos now. Companion seemed like an attempt to make Commander, but Standard. Like, what if you could have a Commander in Standard? And it basically just meant that you always had an 8th card in your opening hand, or a 9th card. A 9th card, real burp, in your opening hand. And that was a little too powerful for Standard. You basically always draw this guy into your starting hand, and he can't be discarded. They can't make you discard it. It's safe in exile. And for competitive play, this ended up being a nightmare. Not just for Standard, but beyond. There are things banned in Modern and Pioneer and whatnot, because Commander is too powerful. If I'm not mistaken, Gigantha still sees a good bit of play in some formats, just because it's effectively free to play the card as your Companion. If you don't know what Companion is, it is literally just like have a Commander. Like, it starts in exile, and you can play it when you get the mana to do it. That's it. So again, if that sounds broken, that's because it was. It absolutely was. And if I'm not mistaken, at first, it wasn't even... Maybe I'm wrong. I was going to say there was something different about Companion, and it might have been the mana requirements or something like that. But anyway, if a source you control with an odd mana value would deal damage to a permanent or player, you get double, is very, very cool. That's so cool. So your bolts now, anything that costs 1, your bolts, your chain lightnings, your burst lightnings, your shock effects and stuff like that, that will all deal, 6 or 4 damage or whatever. That's very cool. Bolt waves now do 6 to everything. That's very, very cool. So just your 1 mana spells get a lot better, but your 3 mana spells get really, really good too. And it's just source. If a source you control, so it's not just, I play an Invasion of Regatha and now I can hit somebody for 8 damage. It's when I get a 3-drop in for damage. Suddenly it gets in for double damage, and that is really cool. 3 drops, 5 drops. Well, again, 1 drops of Monastery Swift Spears deal a lot more damage and beyond. Just really, really, really cool, man. So, so cool. And if you have what, like, I think Gutter Snipe does damage, so Gutter Snipe works like this. Unruly Catapult is a 3-mana thing that you can tap for a damage whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, untap it, and tap it for a damage to each opponent again. And that has odd mana value, so again, you can make a whole deck around this if you wanted to be your commander, but I think it works in the 99 of a lot of decks too. Just a really, really cool dude here that I don't want the sands of time to wash over. 25 cents for a copy of a card that you're going to be having a lot of fun with. By Obosh. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write that down. I don't know that I have a copy of this card. I don't know that I don't, but I don't think I do. And I deserve a copy. This would be really, really good. It just, even in like Black Waltz number 3, which is not odd, right? Black Waltz number 3 as your commander is a 4-drop commander, but so many of your things that that deal damage are odd, right? They're 1 or 3 casting costs. So even some of your 5s, you know, like Torwauki, the younger, that guy does damage to opponents and stuff, and he doubles damage as well. And he's 5 mana, so you'll get more damage out of him. And it's, I don't know, dude. I think this card's gross, and I'm sorry that we've been on the second card of the day for 4.5 minutes. I'm going to give this... I'm going to give Obosher. I'm going to give the old Bosher here a 6.1. I really am. I really like this guy. If you can't tell, I'm justifying him way too much. Next is Yanura. This is a Plains, and it has cool art. I'm going to give this a 5, and it doesn't count. Proteus Staff from Mirrodin here. And it's also in Mystery Booster. It looks pretty cool for Mystery Booster. That Future Sight frame. 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 and a blue and tap it. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. The player puts that card into play and the rest in the bottom of his or her library in any order. Play this ability only anytime you could play a sorcery, so they're trying to ruin it with the end there. It sucks you can only do it sorcery speed. But if you could target like attacking creatures with this, it would be crazy. You know, but 3 mana for a piece of, like, you know, turn over turn removal is pretty great. Or conversely, and probably more excitingly, you target your own creatures with it, and you get a polymorph effect every single turn, which could also be cool. There's a reason this is $3.50 from Mirrodin, you know. For Mystery Booster, it's less than $1, and that's kind of sick. It's actually really sick. This is a fun card. You could do a lot with this. You could do so much with this. You really could. And then just tutor up the creature that you used again. If you use a... You know, it doesn't care about like casting costs or anything. It just hit another creature. So it also doesn't say non-token. You could hit a token creature and get a real creature off the top of your library. That seems gross. That's pretty cool. There's just a lot about this that I like, man. I've seen Proteus Staff a few times in my life, but for some reason I've never seen this on a commander table, and it actually seems like a really fun card there. So I'm going to give this a 6. I am, guys. I really am. I feel like having some fun today, and Casual Commander is all about fun. So that gives this card like an extra friggin' half a point. I'm serious. I think it deserves it. Next is Living Artifact. We did this card not long ago. We did. Forest is next. This is among my favorite forest art of all time. I generally like any forest from Ice Age. They're all really good, but look at that, like pink and purple sunset in the background reflected in this creek here, or river, or whatever you want to call this. I like the little ridge above the creek and the sort of landscape of forests in the background of it. You know, I like these Christmas trees. That's nice. The snow on the ground. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'll give the art a 10. These are maybe my favorite forest of all time. They're gorgeous. Next is Burnout Bastronaut here. More Rob Zombie art this week. This is what the card's supposed to actually look like. I just covered this in the Tifa deck that we uploaded yesterday as I record this video. A single red mana for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior with Menace and start your engines. Pay 2 to Fire Breathe, and you can max speed, double strike. So this has been really fun in the Tifa deck. If you can get to full speed, which is not actually super hard to do, then double strike on this guy's great with basically any pump spell. Your opponents don't want to necessarily let him in, but he's just a little guy. You know, they open the door and there's just a little guy with like blue and pink hair and a cool jacket sitting on the doorstep, little 3'7" goblin, like, hey, I'm a cute guy. You gonna let me in? And they're like, ah, sure, you're just a 1/1. What's the big deal? I don't feel like blocking you with 2 guys. You've got Menace. You're a 1/1. Come right in. And then some kind of pump spell gets cast and you die. That's how that works. This dude's really good when he gets his double strike. And he's got the right creature type, Goblin, in Commander at least. But when you compare him to all the other one-drop Goblins you could play, she's not that great. You know what I mean? But I do have some, like a healthy respect for this card in Standard. I think it'll be, especially after rotation, a more than playable one-drop, unless we get some fantastic ones in Edge of Eternities. But I like her. That said, I'm not going to give her more than like a 4.4. And that's just because I think we've got way better options for ones. And just aggressive decks like this aren't like the thing in Commander, so you're probably not going to play too much of it, to be honest. Next is Abominable Treefolk from Modern Horizons. This is 4 mana, 2 a green and a blue for a star snow Treefolk with trample. Its PT is equal to the number of snow permanents you control. And when it enters the battlefield, tap a creature an opponent controls, and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. If that could have been a stun counter, they'd have made it a stun counter. So you get a 4 mana, so that means it and all of your lands are snow and nothing else exists on your side of the table. It's a 5/5 trample for 4 mana. That also has an ETB trigger. So I'm required to kind of like this. If you have like 2 other snow permanents on the table, then it's pretty big when it comes into play. Snow 1-drop, snow 2-drop, snow 3-drop, all your lands are, so that's 4, 7, 8. It's like an 8/8 trample when it comes into play for 4 mana. You can make that happen too. Not very often. I guess there's a snow 2-drop mana dork. It costs 1 and a green and it taps for green or something like that, or it untaps a snow thing you control. Maybe that's what it does. Untaps a snow permanent. So you could play this on turn 3 if you got that on turn 2. And it'd be pretty big that way too. I don't know. I like this guy. I like snow as a concept. But this is obviously like a drafty dude. Like this is, it's interesting. Modern Horizons is the kind of set where there's a limited environment that they're trying to cultivate, but the cards are also generally slightly higher power level than the average power level of most Magic cards. So even the limited cards that are obviously meant for limited still look kind of good sometimes in these Modern Horizons sets. That's kind of what I'm falling for here. This is not a bad Magic card. I'm going to give it a 3.5. Decent ETB trigger can get huge. The trample's important. I don't mind stuff like this, but obviously very narrow. Killmouth Dragon from Legions is up next. You can get this for less than $1 from its original set. 7 mana, 5 and 2 red for a 5/5 dragon with flying and amplify 3. So as it comes into play, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it for each dragon card you reveal in your hand. Tap it and it deals damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it to target creature or player. That's the interesting part, right? If you amplify it, then suddenly it's an 8/8 flyer, which is good. And you can tap it down to bolt stuff. Bolt anything. That's neat. The problem, though, I think logistically, is that by the time you get to your 7-drop dragon, you probably don't have other dragons in your hand. It's likely as not that you do not have those. So I guess that's always going to be an issue. By the time you get to your 7-drop, you might not have any other cards in your hand. But still, I think the idea with this is that you just put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on it. You either move them onto him somehow. They're already on a bunch of creatures and you move them onto him. Or proliferate maybe could work. There's ways to get a bunch of counters on this dude, but we're working really hard to do that. The good news is, though, that's really cool. The cool points you get for moving like 10 counters onto this dude and then tapping him down, I think are very high. But he's not super practical, so I'll give him a 4.2. I don't think he's amazing, but I do think like if you max the +1/+1 counter, like tap down for damage mode, you're having a good Saturday night. That's all I care about. You're eating pizza, you're with friends, you're drinking whatever you're drinking, you're rolling up whatever you're rolling up, and you're having a good time playing Killmouth Dragon with like 20 counters on it. I think that this is the kind of card where like it's wild and other people might roll their eyes, but like it's hard to pull off and it's a cool concept and people will see it happening in front of them and be like, oh, that's cool. So, I respect that about it too. Up next is Horror of Horrors by who else? If you wanted the card to look like this and you had to call up an illustrator back in the day, who would it be? Mark Teaton. Every single time. 5 mana, 3 and 2 black for an enchantment. Sounds like a creature, looks like a creature. Quacks and walks like a duck, is actually a chicken. Sacrifice a swamp, regenerate target black creature. Think about that. You can get a 9th edition copy of this for 20 cents. And it has pretty cool Simon Bisley art. I don't think that art looks bad, you know, in like a comic book way. I like the color palette. I like he chose like a pinkish purple, like a fuchsia for the background. That's a uncommon color choice, right? And I think that it looks cool. I like what he's done here. But look how cool old Magic cards look. Just look how cool old Magic cards look. And like this, don't get me wrong, Simon probably took a lot of art direction here from Wizards of the Coast, but Wizards of the Coast is probably just like, hey, just make some zombies. Make a zombie. I think that Wizards of the Coast told Mark Teaton, come up with the scariest thing you can possibly imagine. And Mark's like, all right, dude, it's got like a tentacle tongue coming out, but it doesn't have a mouth to put the tentacle tongue in. It's got like teeth in its neck, and there's an eye in its brain, and you know. Mark Teaton's a wild dude, man. Good job coming up with this. But actually talking about what the card does, sack a swamp or generate a black creature, let's kind of go. Let's kind of go. Like 5 mana is kind of a lot. And there are other 5 mana enchantments in black I kind of want to play. Like I want to play Polluted, whatever it's called. It's not Polluted Delta. That's the land. Polluted, whatever it is. Oh my God, I'm not going to remember the name of it. Painful Quandary. You guys know Painful Quandary, right? I think Polluted, whatever I'm thinking of, is the one that like punishes them for playing lands, whereas Painful Quandary is the one that punishes them for playing spells at all. They have to like discard a card or take 5 damage. You know, Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood. Like 5 mana is a benchmark for black enchantments, and every single one that I've named so far is better than Horror of Horrors for the most part. But if you're looking for a cool card that people will be like, oh, what's that? What's that do? Oh, look at that art at the commander table. Like this is the one, and it'll protect your commander like really well. If you have a reason to put swamps in the yard, that's cool. Like maybe you have Crucible of Worlds or Life from the Loam or some other like not Life from the Loam, but like land thing going on in your deck. Like that's sick, man. That's sick. Maybe you have Dread Presence in your deck, the 4 mana guy that whenever you play a swamp, you like draw a card or you deal 2 damage to something and gain 2 life. That guy. Then you could sack your swamps and then again, like crucible them back to your hand and play them again and get more Dread Presence triggers and use this to protect your Dread Presence. Like, I don't know. This is cool. I think this is actually like a kind of sick card. An uncommon from way back in Legends. It's 265 from that set. And I think that's a steal for this, dude. I think this is a pretty cool effect. I'm going to write down Horror of Horrors. I'm kind of working low key on like a, you know, underplayed commander cards kind of video. And I think Horror of Horrors is gross. I really, really do, dude. This card's nice. This is the second time in a week, by the way, that I've overvalued a card that regenerates your creatures. Remember that Silex thing, like Draconian Silex or whatever it was called from Fallen Empires, that I was like, no, guys, this is a way to regenerate your commander every turn by discarding your card, and like that seems cool. This is coming down on resources too to regenerate your creatures at even more of an expense, 5 mana. But I like protecting my commander. I like protecting my commander and other stuff, you know, especially I'm in Aristocrats for the most part. I like protecting my Blood Artists and my LSO cores and stuff. It's really important to have those out. So I don't know, dude. I'm freaking out a little bit about how much I like this card. I'm aware of that, but I'm going to give this a 5. It's not great. It's not great, but I do think this is better than it looks. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Next is Loyal Apprentice from, what is this even from? No. Kaladesh? Commander. It may be from Commander. Is that correct? Is that actually correct? Yeah, this is a Commander card, but it has also been printed in standard sets. Oh, no, it hasn't. I'm just being an idiot. Okay. So 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/1 Human Artificer with haste. It has Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, so of course it's only commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter with flying. It gains haste till end of turn. Okay. Not bad for 20 cents. It's not bad at all. There are a lot of commanders that want, you know, to make artifacts or specifically Thopters even. So I don't know. It's cool. Like if you're in those decks, you definitely play it. So I'll give this a 5 as well. Maybe I'm being really generous today, but yeah, I'll give this a 5. A Thopter every turn is a Bitter Blossom, you know. It's got haste, it flies. How is it not a Bitter Blossom? You have to control your commander. Easier to remove than a Bitter Blossom. Definitely. But altogether, yeah, it's a good little dude, man. Good dude. Islands up next. Some very sick Donato Giancola Urza's Saga art there. Look at that. Feast your eyes. It's beautiful. But next is Disturbing Conversion from March of the Machine. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an aura with flash that enchants a creature. When it ETBs, each player mills 2 cards. Enchanted creature gets -X, -0, where X is the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. So Pretty bad removal, but I guess it also mills you when you need it to. It mills everybody on the commander table, so I guess there's cute stuff about it, but it all just seems a little too cute, doesn't it? I'm going to give this a 3.2. Next and finally is Primeval Shambler from Mercadian Masks here. This is 5 mana, 4 and a black for a 3/3 mercenary. It's a horror mercenary. You can pay a black and it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. This is back when black creatures still had like a form of fire breathing, like all the time. They still have it every now and again, but not too often nowadays. Either way, this is a pretty bad card with really cool art. It's more chippy art. More. We got chippy art from Phyrexian Tower yesterday. Look at this sick chippy art that looks like it's from Nightmare Before Christmas. Look at the huge eyes in this guy and how cool they make him look, and his set of teeth. It's such a cool card, but it's not a very good Magic card, obviously. Mercenary decks and Masks Limited could search this guy up, but only if they had really big mercenaries in play already because of the way mercenaries work as opposed to rebels. So just no, probably not good anywhere. I'm going to give this guy a 2.3 and end it, everybody. We have made it over 20 minutes because I had to go crazy on like 2 of those cards today, but I'll try to keep it a little more succinct tomorrow. Bye.